To touch on this topic about what is decentralized storage, I'd like to begin with what is actually centralized. So we came to centralized actually in a bit of a weird way, like coming through distributed systems. One of the first distributed systems is actually internet and the way we use it today, and it's actually decentralized. And then we took a detour and actually made everything centralized up until now, again. So how actually centralization works? We have a third party that hosts our files somewhere distributed across their own nodes, and we pay them to store it. What's not good about it is something we're going to cover like in the next slide, but essentially it's based on trust, which is not a good idea. And given those aspects, actually we came to the idea of decentralized storage, and we can go to the next slides. So why go decentralized? In control of a third party, it's easier to scale, and centralized is actually, as I said, based on trust. Nicola, you can, yeah.
Yeah, so I'd also add that like all of us in the Web3 communities and blockchain nerds like to push all the good stuff about the Web3, but also my personal way of thinking is that it's not for everything. So some of the solutions make much more sense to be centralized. Like if you have some internal systems or stuff like that, depends on the use case, of course, but in a lot of cases you don't actually need the blockchain or any decentralized solutions. So centralized solutions are mostly in control of a third party. They are easier to scale in a lot of cases, and they are based on trust, which in some cases doesn't impact the project that much, but in other cases it's important to have a trustless system. And decentralized solutions are in some cases cheaper, depends on the implementation, which we'll cover later. And they are also trustless and censorship resistant. And I'd like to emphasize one point that I think the decentralized solutions are specifically good in, and that is the point of our conference today, and it's the decentralized science and academic research, because that's the one thing I hate mostly about the research, that at least today it's mostly closed, it's not available to everyone, it's like they have a gatekeeping and a paywall behind, in front of all the researches, and you can't really access them easily. So I think the decentralization and making it more open for everyone is a way to go, and generally we should have the mentality of sharing knowledge, and we should populate this a lot more, and we should promote this. So I think this is the perfect case for the decentralization, and not just in the tech sense, but also in the philosophical sense, that we should promote this. Even if we don't use the decentralized tech solutions, we should have this open mindset about sharing knowledge and actually promoting research and research papers, making it cheaper or even free, in my opinion. And yeah, I think that's something that we should work a lot more on. And yeah, that's something that we should focus on right now. So yeah, you can take over.
So as Nicola said, decentralized science is actually one of the perfect use cases where decentralized storage comes in. And what it enables us is that we are going to be able to have a network of scientific research where we know who the actual owner is, and it could be and it will be shared among everybody else with essentially no paywalls, since even if there are paywalls on systems such as Filecoin that we're going to cover next. They are ridiculously small compared to like the centralized solutions, and I don't know, for example, GCP or Azure, or depending on the use case where you host it. So I was thinking about how is something like decentralized blockchain, if there is no paywall, going to help me if I'm already putting papers on GitHub, since there is a lot of actually companies that started that way. But the thing is that ownership is not proven actually on GitHub, and blockchain enables us to do that. So we're going to see in the next slides the solutions that came up to this and where we are actually now. But I would like to touch on open science movement and how it actually benefits from this. So open science movement actually enables us to spread research across the world and make it more accessible to all the people that have ideas. And I think that by putting it somewhere that we all have access to, we are essentially going to drive the innovation even further. And like by pushing that stuff, we can, like, even beside of tech, get to new innovations that are gonna drive everything up. So as far as I've read, like gravitational waves were a research paper that came from open science movement, and that was just recently, and a lot of people actually had access to it and contributed in a way because it was accessible to everyone. So yeah, just wanted to touch up on that. And I think if we take, for example, Bitcoin, that was essentially a research paper that Satoshi Nakamoto published, but perhaps if we had blockchain back then and solutions we have now, if it were to publish that way, we maybe would have known who Satoshi is. Maybe, maybe not, we don't know, but yeah, it would actually prove some sort of ownership to that. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. Yeah, you can cover it.
So one of the main things right now in the decentralized science space is citizen science and crowd sourced research. So as I said before, I think making this more open and making people involved is a big part of this and the decentralization. And I think citizen science and actually making it possible for everyone to actually fund these projects is important, and making people involved is a key thing to make them actually think about some of these problems that these research papers cover. Because I think it's in the human nature that people, if they don't work on something, if they don't have the stake in something, they don't actually care that much about it, as we see on examples of main world problems and stuff like that. Like if it doesn't touches you, most of the people simply don't care. So I think making people involved in this is important. So there are some projects that are quite successful in doing this. One of my favorite is VitaDAO, because I'm a big longevity nerd and health nerd. So I like researching like how to live forever and stuff like that. So I think making people involved in this, in medicine and health, is one of the, if not the main important thing right now in the world, to have the accessible medicine, to have the research to back it up. So I think this is a successful example of how to implement something like this. They had like 4 million in funding for different researches, and I think it's a good initiative, and it's a successful one, and it shows us that this can be done. This is not just a fad. This is not just a Web3 crypto stuff. It's a real thing, and its success is already proven. So I think these researchers that got funded actually provide a lot of the a lot of good things to the world, and they are definitely a step forward. So I think this topic is really important, and they actually. Sorry. Oh yeah, we have two microphones. Sorry. Sorry. So it's a step forward, and we already have the proven examples. So this is not just like something that we are building that we don't know if it might ever get traction in the future. There's like it's not like a cryptocurrency that gets like a billion gets to the $1 billion and then gets to zero. This is actually the funding that's already deployed and used, and yeah. So I think we already have successful examples, and we should take a look at how they implemented it and continue working on improving it and involving more people in this. So you can continue.
Yeah, I want to touch also on one thing. So, Nicola, you reminded me of something that the actual adoption of these technologies is having a slight curve going up, but I think that might be the problem. So not a lot of people that are currently, so let's say this is like a Web3 sphere where decentralized storage is working in, and not a lot of people are actually familiar with. And like, we should drive that adoption by basically, let's say we publish a research paper on Filecoin or NFT or anywhere else, and somebody reads it and can share it, and we know who the owner is. But it would be really nice if a research paper that's going to be like super successful, something like curing death or something like that, and that we know it actually came from decentralization and from that whole movement. So adoption is actually one of the key aspects I see in this, and not just in decentralized storage, but generally in Web3. Me, myself, I like researching about other stuff other than decentralized storage. And for example, you're not able to like explain zero knowledge proofs to somebody that's not even in Web3, or it's difficult to explain to somebody in Web2 actually as well. So yeah, but this is a more concrete topic, so I guess it's a bit easier to explain. So if we start with IPFS, we flagged it here as distribution. So with the appearance of smart contracts that were able to get deployed on Ethereum, we needed a way to get files stored distributedly, because storing them on smart contracts is actually really expensive and costs a lot of gas. So we had to come up with an idea about how are we going to distribute them, and IPFS is the solution to that. How it actually works is it's essentially like a torrent on steroids, is how we call it here. So it's a bunch of nodes running IPFS server, and they all, so if I want to upload, let's say, a file or something to IPFS, it gets distributed to a whole local network of nodes. The thing is for IPFS that there is no incentivization for me to be involved in IPFS ecosystem, aside from that I'm contributing to the ecosystem itself. And that's where actually Filecoin comes in. And they build a layer up on IPFS where they use IPFS protocol under the hood, but provide you with incentivization to pay for the data you store, and in that way pay to the people that store IPFS. And then we have a full going loop that just keeps on going and going. One more thing, IPFS doesn't store your files permanently, so you would have to pin it constantly. Pinning is essentially a way of saying IPFS nodes, hey, I still need that file. I want you to still hold on it, and that's it. And IPFS is essentially free, but you have to, I don't know, tackle those solutions if you want something to store on there. Filecoin, it's free, not free, sorry, it's paid, but files stay on Filecoin as long as you paid for it. So, but it's decentralized, and it's not like they're owning it. It's just distributed across nodes. And there's actually a research paper I read recently that it says that approximately 86 petabytes of data is currently on Filecoin. So it's actually like the adoption curve I was saying about. It's going up, but we still need to work on it. And then we got surprised actually by Arviv, which is a blockchain that allows us to have permanent data storage as a blockchain solution. And their mission and their vision actually stands that they want to be a blockchain that's gonna keep all the files in there forever. You essentially pay for one fee when you upload the file that depends on like mostly file size, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's really useful for for, I don't know, archiving, for example, or journalism, or versioning, and yeah, you can.
Yeah, so one of the main questions that we always get is like, what incentivizes users? Because Arviv essentially works a little bit different than IPFS, and you don't have this pinging mechanism. And the main point of Arviv that separates this protocol from IPFS and other ones is pay once, store forever model. So basically, one of the questions that we get is what incentivizes nodes to actually store this data forever if the user paid only once for the transaction and for the like the fee, storage fee. So they created this model, that this mechanism that basically doesn't pay the nodes everything at once, but actually like distributes this during a longer time period. And actually you have the incentive to store the data for a long periods of time, and the data gets replicated, and in most of the cases, like in all of the cases, it doesn't get deleted anytime. So another question to kind of continue on that is, if it doesn't get deleted and there's no technical way of removing files, what if someone actually like uploads something illegal or stuff like that? So currently, this is based on nodes, so they have the option to choose what data they store, and but on the other side, you can filter which data you actually like pull out from Arviv. But yeah, so for me personally, this is like one of the interesting things that I can't wait to see, like in which direction this goes, like legality-wise, and like about the regulation, because up until now you had like if someone uploads something illegal on, I don't know, AWS or on their website, you can like you can take it down, you can kind of have a trial for that. But this is like something new that we don't have the legal system to actually like take account for, because like how do you take down something that technically can't be taken down because it's decentralized on like potentially infinite, I mean not potentially infinite, but like a lot of nodes that all host it like separately, and it's replicated infinitely. So this is like a technical problem that's really interesting to see how this will be regulated by governments and by the legal system. So yeah, like it's also like one of the points for using Arviv is that it's cheap. It's much cheaper than the centralized solutions, especially because of that. So for centralized solutions, of course, like also there's a trade-off, because like if you host files on AWS or on some servers, you can modify these files, but in this case, this file will be stored permanently. But the cost is much cheaper because you pay only once, and this file will be there forever. You can kind of download it, you can share it forever. You don't have to care about the hosting fees and stuff like that. So that's one of the points why this solution is cheaper than centralized ones, because when you pay for hosting initially, you don't have to pay on a month-to-month basis or on a yearly basis. You pay only for that one transaction, and that's one of the things that that's really great for Arweave, and that's why we chose it as our protocol of choice. And yeah, so we are really interested to see what's next in this space. So starting from 2009, if we, I mean, of course, it's much longer than that, and it goes back way further. But let's say like that in 2009 we had this first blockchain and cryptocurrency Bitcoin, published by like someone named Satoshi, and it kind of started this whole process because before this we didn't really have like incentive mechanisms for people to use these decentralized solutions. They like it was based mostly on the goodwill of people to like care about these things, but I think the introduction of incentivization and financial benefit was one of the things that started this whole process. And you can see like how much money went into the crypto space and the Web3 space since then. So also in 2015 with Ethereum, when we get the first smart contracts, also like the smart contract isn't a new thing. The term was coined like in 1994 by Nick Szabo, so the concept was there, but Ethereum kind of popularized it. So we get to use some more functionality on the blockchain, and it's not just a cryptocurrency. We can build apps on that, and that kind of proves even more how this space is evolving like from year to year. Also, first decentralized storage protocol. Of course, this is like also not the first one, but depends how you look at it. But IPFS is the most popular one that came out in. It was published in 2015 also. So before that also we had like peer-to-peer solutions, I don't know, like torrents and stuff like that. But if we take IPFS as the most popular new one and like in this whole Web3 space, but yeah, so the question is what's next? I'd say like some of the things to improve is the storage, the scalability, how we can actually like popularize this, and as we talked before, like the barrier to entry is, I think, really high right now. So people can't really like enter this. Like you have to have a wallet, you have to have like Web3 stuff, Web3 knowledge. So it's kind of like not really, even for Web2 people, like they are not that much interested. They don't see the benefits. So I think seeing how we improve this user experience is interesting to see which protocols will do this. Like also the cost, because most people are used to like centralized solutions where you get like either a free trial or a whole freemium product. Yeah, so people are not used to paying for stuff, even if it's their own data, even if it's like transactions. So this is also something we had to work on, like how to actually show them what they are paying for, or even if we abstract this to a higher level. So this is just some interesting stuff to look for in the future. Also, like the whole DeSci stuff about how we will adopt this further in the decentralized science space, and how we can utilize these tools to improve these processes much more, and to actually use them for what they should be used for. As we said, like not everything should be on blockchain. So yeah, it's just interesting to see the future of this landscape and how we will improve it. And yeah, so this is how we do it. So we saw this problem that we wanted to fix, because Philip is also in a journalist space, and we see these problems like how can we make something censorship free, like to make the data open for everyone. Like in third world countries, in countries like that are struck by war, you can't really access a lot of the stuff. The government also bans it. So there are a lot of use cases for having the decentralized stuff and the open stuff and accessible stuff. So first we actually like we're talking about like what's the best way, should we make a platform for journalists. So at the end we decided to take a more general approach and to see like the feedback, to see what people are mostly concerned about. So we had a proof of concept about using Arweave and Bundler. Bundler is actually like a layer 2 solution for Arweave. So you can the transactions are much cheaper, and also you can use multiple payment options like different cryptocurrencies, not just the AR token, because it abstracts it a lot, makes it easier to use, because not everyone would. I personally, when we started working on this, I wanted to create a RV wallet. Basically, you have to be a developer. It's not really easy to go through all the steps to create RV wallet, to use it. So I think Bundler is a really great solution for fixing it, for making it easier to pay in like Ethereum, Matic, or whatever. So we are using Bundler and RV. So the first project we worked on the left is permanent presence, which is like a buzzword for just like storing your personal like Linktree profile or something like this. Your profile to be, this is basically, this was a proof of concept for us to see if the tech works as expected.
Yeah, something like a personal identity, I guess. So you can send somebody like the decentralized link, and they're gonna know like you're probably decentralized. Yeah,
basically like a lot of the stuff ENS domains do. So it's not really anything special, but it proved the concept. And on the right side, we actually built a bit of a more complex solution, and it's about publishing your decentralized website. So your website will be completely decentralized on the Arviv blockchain, and also, so the main point is the two main points is the domain, which you have to pay for continuously on a month-to-month basis or on a yearly basis. So we actually used unstoppable domains, which work effectively as NFTs, where you pay also once and you have this domain forever. And we use the Arviv as the solution for storage to actually store your decentralized website. So we found a lot of use cases that are not really obvious, because we are also still looking at more solutions and technologies that are currently being developed. As for example, right now this is tricky because it's stored on a protocol that's open to everyone, so you can't really like store server-based files, and you can't really have the backend with like private keys and stuff like that, because it's accessible by everyone. So we are looking into solutions that actually solve these problems. But yeah, so it's really great that we have this, but also not just for us. I'm really excited to see which other projects will work on this. So this is more general approach on just storing any website, but I'm thrilled to see like what people will build based on stuff like this, and how they will utilize this technology, and what new niches will be shown, like, and yeah, so really everything about this is exciting. So yeah, that's something we wanted to cover today. So we thank you for listening to us.